Well, let's get started then. Apologize for a little bit of the framing and the lighting. It's a little bit off today. Um, but I'm glad you're here. Glad everybody's here that joined us. And if you're watching the recording, thank you for watching. Uh, I am Paul Pedron. I am now a product manager for Service Desk, but ZENcast is moving forward, so I still have my fingers in all of the ZENworks stuff. So we get to keep the ZENcast live, giving you the latest of what we can find. So I'm happy to be here. I'm glad that everybody's out there safe, and we're going to dig into some ZENworks Configuration Management with Update 2 coming up, right? Got some stuff going on there, and we're going to look at some of that. We are ZENcast live. We come in the first and third Tuesday of each month at 9 o'clock Mountain Time. You can subscribe at the Micro Focus Support and Training YouTube channel, which you are already here, but go ahead and subscribe and you'll get notifications as well. We do have, let's see oh yeah, over on the YouTube, let me move this over here so it's better found. You obviously found us if you're on this stream, but know that there's other ZENworks products in here as well for training. And so you should be able to find some resources there. And then, of course, we have a new schedule coming up, ZENcast Live upcoming schedule. We have the new blog, the new community blogs, which we'll go over a little bit, but we do have the listing here if you want to forecast what we're getting into next. Okay. A little house cleaning. Log into the YouTube chat, as I mentioned. Join the conversation. I appreciate those that have logged in and said hi. If you're joining us for the first time, come on out and say hello and greet everybody. And we're happy that you're here. You can do a direct message by putting an @ sign in front of the person that you want to speak to. So you can actually have a conversation with them directly. You'll see exclamation points in the commands. For instance, I'm going to go ahead and put exclamation PPTX, and you should be able to put this in too, and that should give you this particular presentation and be able to download it so you can either watch it later, have the links that are in the presentation, and so forth. Okay, just makes it a little bit easier for you to if you miss something and you knew there was a command there, an exclamation command, you can get to it. We're also, as I mentioned, want you to subscribe, notifications, and please put in comments. I'd like to hear your feedback on the ZENcast, and as we move forward with some of the development of the ZENcast, we want to make sure we're doing it the right way and that you're getting everything you need out of it. Of course, the link to this presentation is exclamation PPTX, and then past presentations and recordings, you can go to the Micro Focus Support and YouTube training. Oh, I already showed you that. And again, if you uncheck autoplay in case you get disconnected or there's a glitch, it'll move you on to something else. If you turn off autoplay and then you run at 720 p60, that'll be the best quality that we have for this particular stream. So that'll get you some good quality. ZENcast schedule coming up. We're doing ZCM 2020 install and config, but we're also adding in the ZCM 2020 update 2, some things that are coming down the line. If you have questions on those, feel free to shout them out, but we'll cover those probably first, and then we'll get into an install in the lab. And then coming up, we have, like I said, there's a series. This is just the first of a few. We have Vikram Goyal, who's a PM for ZCM. He's going to come on the 18th and talk about the ideas features that you guys have put in the ideas portal that we've implemented into ZCM. So we appreciate the ideas portal. It is very effective and useful, not just for us to know what you want, but for you and the community to be able to use. And then we're going to have Darren Vandebos come in and talk about anti-malware in June. So the upcoming schedule is a few things. Update 2 isn't, it's still in beta. We're working through it, but we want to be able to get some information out to you guys so you can see what's going on, and we'll cover some of that today in the next three sessions. Micro Focus portal, we talked about this. It looks like it's getting better. We're seeing the calls into the support for this go down because we had a rough time. We had some challenges coming into this, modifying and changing everything over to a new portal. But do take note of the report discrepancies down below that you can email if you have any discrepancies in your portal. Okay, be sure to let them know so you can get everything you're supposed to have in your portal. There's other things in here, the video series and TIDs and stuff. So make aware. Download this particular ZENcast and you'll see it and be able to choose those links. Let's talk about the ZENworks products. The ZCM Suite, Update 1 currently in play. Update 2 beta program is going on. If you're in the beta program, thank you very much. We appreciate all your feedback and dedication to at least viewing it and giving us feedback so that we can make it a real strong product and release. ZCM 2017 extended support expired in April. Okay, if you're still on 2017 and you need to get to 2020, let us know. We'll help you out. There is a cookbook out there for upgrading. Should be able to work through that cookbook and get you everything you need. But feel free to give us a call. We'll help you through that. We want to make sure you're on the latest and you have support for it. The OWS suite, you can get some ZENworks extension for Open Workgroup Suite, and you can get the complement of the ZENworks full suite by an add-on. So we've mentioned that a few times. And again, ZCM itself is at Update 1. There's a PRU for April. I didn't check if May was out yet. I think, well, we'll check in my lab because I just requested. I think April was still there. May's not in yet. Driver updates is in November, but I do hear that there's a new driver update coming soon. And I say soon loosely. I did hear that they're hoping to get it out in June. So be aware that that's coming up. And that's June is just that's their target date. Don't know if it's early or late, but keep an eye out for that. Again, you could go to Patch Finder to find those in your SLD portal. And then the iOS APM certificate changed in March. So if you do have those MDMs on iOS devices, be sure to double check that. ZENworks, I don't know what are we doing here? There we go. ZAM Asset Management for Education. We were called out on Gartner Peer Insights about that, and we're excited about that. We do this every time, and this is why I'm going to start changing some of this automation so it works better. So we were called out there, so that's a great thing. All your support. ZMM Mobile Management, the legacy has been end of life. Okay, end of last year. Part of that was the Java that was needed and is no longer, right? So because the console needed some Java. Let's see, ZPM Patch Tuesday highlights, and it's going to go over here again because my chat is over here on this side. There we go. It worked. Oh, page not found. I have to look up that one. See if I got it right. That was the community. I was looking at the community for Patch Tuesday highlights. Darren goes out there, and if you're doing patches, it gives you different OSs and so forth. I'll check out that page for the community. And then February 2021 Servicing Stack Update recommendation. There was an article out there as well. Let's see if that one comes up. ZRS 7.2 is the current version. Appliance online updates. Remember, February and May. So this month we should have some security updates. There's the patch management for Servicing Stack Update. Make note of that. Craig put that out there. And then future release of ZRS is 7.8. It's going to be released with ZCM 2020 Update 2. They pretty much parallel each other when they release ZRS and ZCM updates. Okay, Micro Focus Desktop Containers. Version 21 has had some increased capabilities each time. So be aware that we covered these in an actual. We had Jason on and actually do a demo on this. but be aware that these versions are getting enhanced quite constantly. Um, and the code is year and month, so you can see that they're getting that cadence in quite often, so that's really good. There's an article out there about simplifying remote learning with desktop containers and how to do it, how to set it up. There's a presentation you can download, and the live cast of when Jason was on showing that demonstration. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. There's the Simplify Remote Learning. Okay. ZENworks Service Desk 8.2.1 is the current. It was released the day after I did my last ZENcast, which was we were showing how to, some of the feature sets. And so I couldn't show you live because it was not released yet, but the day after we actually had a release. So remember, again, your security patches, they should be coming up. There's a customization cookbook and the upgrade tutorial video that's out there as well. And to upgrade it, we'll show you real quick on a recap on how to upgrade that. It's online updates, very simple, and you get those added features. So we'll show you that. Another call out to Robin Redgrave, who's also doing something similar to ZENcast with Filer. So he has a drop-in once a month. You can, if you have this particular PowerPoint, you can actually put this in your Outlook calendar and iCal calendar. Some of the events coming, you have the on-demand sessions for the TTP EMEA, which happened last month, and you can see what sessions were there and use that as a resource. We have a webinar index listed here as well. We have Micro Focus Training YouTube channel, which we covered in the very beginning, and then the Asia Pac has a Micro Focus Realize 2021. And you could register. There will be some community stuff in there as well. So check that out. See if it's something that you can get some information with. Articles again. IDC, we mentioned this, called us out for a major player in unified endpoint management, which is a great thing. Some of the things that we have through the surveys are mentioned here, and then let other IT professionals know how great ZENworks is. You can use this link and fill out a survey at Gartner Peer Insights. All right, and then a ZENcast progress survey. If you want to give us some feedback on the ZENcast, please do fill that out, and I'll make note of the different changes and things that you're recommending. Zen community has changed. As you can see, we have it here, right? We have the community guide. We have, this is collaboration. We can go to ZENworks, and you could pick, depending on which component you're looking for, and you can get to your ideas exchange, your tips info, blogs, and so forth. So they did that last week, last 10 days. Yeah, they were migrating it over. Took a little longer than they expected, but it looks like most everything is there. I got to check that one page, but most everything is there. ZENworks building a GUI to request and store user input can be a CDF alternative. Craig Wilson put out a great article on if you're trying to get information and you need user input, you can actually use the collection data form to get some of that information and actually bring it into that device. So he put out a quite detailed explanation of this particular process. And I know we used it at my previous employer, we used it as physical inventory and things like that too. So it's actually a hidden jewel. If you haven't used it before, check it out. So let's look at upgrading. We did an upgrade. Let's see, yeah, 201. I think that's the right one. So we did upgrades last time, or we talked about Service Desk 821 last time. We're going to do a quick recap on a few things on Service Desk real quick. So we'll go into, where are we? We're SD admin. And then notice that we're at 820, and the online update we're registered to, so it obviously is telling us there's an online update. I'm going to go to one more because it has a little bit different settings. Let's go in there. There you are. Hello. There we are. Okay, so online updates. Let's check this one out. And then we'll go back over to this one. So this particular one, online updates, it's going to look like this, pretty simplified. It's ZENworks Service Desk 821. Okay, and all you have to do is do an update now. And it will require a reboot, so make sure that you have some type of downtime, or your users of Service Desk know. And so if I could have sworn I had this on here. It's 8. Let's see what happens here. Register. We registered? We're registered. Refresh. Maybe we just need to refresh it. There we go. So this one actually has the patches in it. The other one, this one, the patches were completed already. But this one has patches in it, and if you notice at the very bottom, there's the feature. Okay. So you can install them all, or you can do them separately, but we'll do an update now. And select OK. And that is really all the update is. So they've really simplified it for this one. There's no OS update changes. There's no things where we needed to do a side-by-side. So the light on my left is off. Okay, so that's the updates. There is a what's new out there, and you can see there's quick calls, dynamic forms, things we covered last time, right? So there's a quick calls, and then the platforms of support matrix, and then a how-to out on the YouTube channel under Service Desk. There's a how to migrate. Now it says 2x. This is because I didn't have the full version of 821 and I was getting the 820 out. I thought I'd just tag on 821 in this video. So basically I just mentioned that to go from 820 to 821 is online updates, as you just witnessed. Otherwise that has all the details of going from 811, 880. You have to be at least version 8 to go to 8.2. And then there is a side-by-side because the OS changed in 8.2. That's our recap for today. Let's see if these went through. And I can take me off. Don't need that. Still working on it. This one's done. So if you notice, I'll go home and it'll say reboot needed in the upper right-hand corner. We'll go ahead and select reboot, and that'll basically reboot and be at 821 when we get back. All right. A couple of great things about if you're looking to find out what's in Update 2 in more specific detail. There was an article in Open Horizons, a couple articles in Open Horizons, and I put the links here so that you can go to these links. The modern management of Windows 10 devices and the enhancements they're putting into Update 2 on top of it. This was back in December, okay? But it gives some details, how to enroll in the autopilot and so forth. All right, great article, has some great detail to it. And then there's also one on the anti-malware. Oops, wait a minute, back. On the anti-malware. So these articles are out there. Use them as you need to, but it goes through great detail on what it's going to look like, what the options are, and so forth. So I hope that's helpful. We have the dashboards and drill downs and so forth. Okay, that's under recent articles. Today's agenda is ZCM 2020 Update 2, what's new, and an install of ZCM basically. There are a lot of changes in ZCM Update 2 coming up. There's some architecture change. The code name is Janus, and there's an architecture change. Doing a lot around security ops, anti-malware, which we've mentioned. There's renaming devices from ZCC, that new option. Device assignments from Android Appliance, okay, and then removable drive exclusions from encryption policy. So those are some of the underlying. The big one obviously is their architecture. As you know, we're looking at to compartmentalize some of the components of ZENworks. So when you have an update to the bundle management and you're using bundle management, authentication, policy management, you don't have to bring down all the downtime. You'll have high availability because the only update you'll need to do is the bundle management piece. So that's just an example of how they're starting to compartmentalize. And I don't have details on that, but you will be seeing some webinars coming up real soon on the details of the architecture and what's going to be used. I do know that it will be, from what I understand, it will be an ISO install. Kind of like if we went from ZCM 2017 update 4 to 2020, you have an ISO. It's going to be the same type thing. Or a new appliance type thing. So because there's some major structural changes and OS, they want to be on the latest OS and Tomcat and those types of things as well. So some of the best, I think, I'm excited about this one is the removable drive exclusion from, the remote control recording, which is in experimental mode, and the remote chat. We're going to cover that in a presentation today. So I'm excited about those two. I know we've been looking for chat for a long time. We had it way back in ZDM, and then with the new structures and moving to ZCM, it's been requested, but it's been our highest request is remote chat. And then we have remote control recording. And then think about the possibilities beyond that if you're using Service Desk on top of it. Right? You can start getting those chat logs. You can start getting those recordings to actually see what's going on with the device if there's a help desk ticket. Thoughts around that? Enhanced security. It's going to be enhanced around content, registration, authentication. So there's some details in there. Again, I mentioned that version 7.8. If you're on the beta, they mentioned the beta drop will be this week. There's Jasper improvements in there for security, and there's OS changes. So moving to 7.8 would definitely benefit. And then we're going to do, for today's agenda, we're going to do a 2020 appliance install, which you may or may not have done, depending on if you use that OS. Let's cover a couple of things in the endpoint security malware. So this one just calls out the platforms it's supporting. Included in ZCM suite, complements the other endpoint security features. So it has, you have to have the ZENworks endpoint security product key, and then there's a separate key for malware, similar to the patch, right? If you have patch. Partnered with one of the top 3 anti-malware technology providers for scan engine and security content. So we really tried to bring in the best, and then installed when anti-malware enforcement policy is applied. And so even though you have ZCM and you even have the key installed, until you apply an anti-malware enforcement policy, it doesn't actually apply that portion of that agent. Okay, so you're not impacted by that. And they have the same reboots, minimal reboots, if any, when that gets applied. And then monitoring, there's dashlets and drill downs and so forth. Okay. Threat protection remediation, centrally administered, so it's single pane of glass. Policy configured protection against known and unknown malware threats. So it has a few different technologies down at the bottom. Generic detection. It'll do unpack a zip and check out the executables, the unarchives. It also does heuristics. So there's a wide range of what it scans, and you can control all of that through your through the ZCC. And part of that is the threat monitoring, central monitoring of detected malware threats and current malware status of endpoints. So you get those statuses and see who's been scanned and who hasn't been scanned in a while. On-access and on-demand scanning of files, boot sectors, memory, registry. So it really does a lot of the different threats. It'll disinfect, it'll quarantine, it'll delete, denied, ignored. You have all these capabilities against viruses, worms, Trojans. So it's really been a great add-on. It's going to be a great add-on to the ZENworks suite and just controlling and managing that device. Anti-malware protection, we talked about. Increased capability in modern management when 10 devices, we talked about. Some of the things in Update 2, we're going away from the Novell to Micro Focus. So if you have pathing on the server side, we haven't done the agent side yet. The server side will then start using the Micro Focus path. Okay. And then the top 2 community requests is remote control record and remote control chat. And we're going to get into that presentation right now. Let's do that now. There we go. I stole this from Jason. He said, yeah, just use this one. So the chat client with remote management in ZCM is the ticket out there that got the all-time number of votes, right? Just being able to have a chat while you're in conversation, so you don't have to pick up the phone, or maybe there isn't a phone there, or so chat with the user while performing remote control. Chat logged to the technician's device will be rolled up to the server in future release. So the enhancement would be, let's roll that up. And then can always be initiated by the technician. The chat can be initiated, or the user can. Okay. Of course, there's a visible signal when that occurs. We want, that security, and we want to be transparent with that. What are the benefits? To allow the user to communicate with the technician when helping the user, obviously. And chats are logged, so now you have a log of that conversation, and it can be uploaded to even Service Desk. Okay, so for the ticket of a Service Desk, because in Service Desk you can use the remote control for ZENworks, and then with this chat you can obviously tag the chat into the service call itself, that the technician has been out to the site, or at least been remote controlled and using it, and the details about it. So this was a screenshot of the desktop. I don't think I can get it any larger. I apologize for that. So there's a new chat button up here, and you can then chat, and you have your conversation going on from administrator or you. Okay. It shows which desktop is joined in the conversation and the administrator. So it's quite helpful. And again, the log is very detailed, step by step, and so that you can actually take that log and utilize it for troubleshooting purposes. This is a remote chat initiated by the user. Okay, on the user side, they selected chat, and they can start their chat conversation with the same type of logs happening. Okay. Now, remote control session recording. It is experimental, but it's working and really ideal. It's great that you're able to record what's going on, because how many times do those errors elude us, right? Because they're intermittent. So there's a new setting to enable or disable recording. And of course, this function also requires visible user notifications, so they know the session is being recorded. We want to be transparent with that. Recordings are logged to that location there on the workstation, on the technician workstation, okay? Not on the device that you're remote controlling, okay? And then recordings can be viewed with an RFB player available. Since it's in experimental mode, we are using the type VNC, and it's not integrated yet, but will be in a future release. And then again, could be used as an attachment to the service desk request to capture what the technician did while they're troubleshooting, what they did to resolve, so forth. Okay, and here's the policy setting that's added. You're familiar with the remote management policy settings, and there's an additional one: allow recording of the remote management session. Okay, so that way you can manage that, whether or not you want to use that, or you're allowed to, depending on what your security is. Remote control session recording is showed here. And again, there's another button at the top up here that's a little camera to actually remote control, and it's red, so that means it's recording at this time, and it shows you the progress. So that way we can use that for troubleshooting as well. That's really exciting in update 2. I'm thrilled with that. Even as a customer, I know that was one thing way back when we looked forward to getting back. So I'm excited for you guys. Automatic roll-up so future, again, as we mentioned, automatic roll-up of chat messages, automatic roll-up of recordings. The ability to play recordings from ZCC, nice option, right? And then integrating it with Service Desk so that you can view the recordings or see the attached logs and troubleshooting. And then the ability to save recordings as MP4 audited. So these are all on the roadmap to carry on with the chat and the recording feature. Okay, I hope you're excited about that. I think that's a great enhancement to just basically managing a device when you're, especially as a technician. Okay, if there's any questions, feel free to shout them out. Valerie, presumed only get remote chat recording if agent is updated to, yes, that's correct. So it has to be update 2 to update 2. Thank you for asking that question. You have to make sure you have the latest agent, which has that capability of seeing that policy and having those functions. Thank you very much. Okay, so we went through the remote control, community remote control and chat. Sorry I didn't have a live demo, but we will probably have some of that when Vikram comes on, because he's going to do the top ideas that you guys have suggested. Okay. All right, so any other questions, shout them out. I appreciate the conversations coming in, and we're going to move on over to exercises in the lab, which is going to be basically getting a ZENworks Appliance up just as a test device. Okay, so we're just going to do a quick install of ZCM Appliance, but there are some tips that was passed down. That was passed down by Bob Reynolds. Because of the at-home devices and you guys managing not just within your enterprise, but also your enterprise now expanded to home users, right? If you plan to distribute the agent to a home user after adding the additional DNS name to the server object, do a package rebuild so the new name gets into the web service file. Otherwise, they'll install the agent, it fails, then use the command line to register to the public address. So there's recovery, but add that in and then repackage, and that would really be helpful. And then go into ZCC configure device management registration and turn on Enable Use of Device Management Registration Rules if it's not already on, and then make sure you have rules and keys that can do registration. So we thank Bob for those at-home device tips and being able to enhance our capability of extra tips for at-home users. Okay. If you downloaded this presentation, it's ZCM Update 1 documentation. There's a upgrade cookbook out there. It will be updated with Update 2 when 2 is released, and then ZENworks Postgres database tips and utilities. So if you've migrated from 2017 to 2020, and you had Sybase prior, you know that you're now on another database, right? And a lot of the migrations went from Sybase to Postgres. So by doing that, there's just some things that, okay, how do you manage the Postgres database now? And so there's some tips and utilities in that particular presentation that will help you with that. It is just a video, a TID, and then there's some videos out there as well. Okay. So those are the Zen resources. We're going to go back to the lab now, and we're going to go minimize, and we're here. So let's go here. And I think, here we are. Not that one actually. Yeah. So April's out. May hasn't hit the actual. Hasn't hit the updates yet because I did this morning. Awaiting authorization. We're going to go ahead and down this guy real quick. We're going to go. He is this one over here. Okay, and I'm bringing it down so that we can start from scratch and take a snapshot of this if we need to fast forward. It was downloading when we started, so I figured it would finish. Let's go ahead and do a snapshot. Take snapshot. Thank you for that. Okay. So to save some time, I went ahead and installed the OVA, and we're here. And obviously, you're going to go through the documentation on this, but one of the reasons why I wanted to at least do an install, I know we don't have 2020 Update 2 to install. That'll be an ISO or another OVA, and that'll come in future ZENcast. But for this one, if you don't have a test environment, throw up an appliance if you can. Now, I will say that VMware Workstation is not supported for production use, but it does work in a test environment, and it kind of helps because you don't need that ESXi or the vSphere or those types of things in place, and you may have other people managing those types of devices, and you need to go through some change control or something just to get a test device up. But here you could do VMware Workstation, and if I were to power this on right now, it's going to tell me I don't have a second disk. And this is obviously documented in the documentation. So we'll go ahead and add another disk, and just kind of know what size disk you're going to need. If it's test, you may not need a whole lot. If you were doing an upgrade, you'd obviously use an existing virtual disk going from 2017 to 2020, or going from 2020 or 2020 Update 1 to 2020 Update 2. As an appliance, you need to run something on the appliance, bring it down, copy the VA storage, the second disk, and you'd use existing virtual storage, right? In this case, we're going to just create a new disk, and I'll put 120 for my size. I'm going to store it as a single, and we're going to call this VA storage. Okay. All right, so now we have 2, and now we can power it up, and it won't give us that error. So we'll go ahead and power it up. kernel. You'll then start the OS install. And this won't take too long getting to this point. And you just have a couple of things to add here. Even if you didn't want to worry about DNS or those types of things because you have other people that are managing that security, you can throw up a VMware workstation with this appliance and just have an IP address, which is what I do in a lot of my labs as well, because it'll then read the ZCC and you'll be able to manage it. Okay, taking a minute. There it is. So you have your license, obviously. We'll accept. Put in your super secret passwords. And then, of course, your region. I always do Pacific instead of US. So I've been on the West Coast for so long. And any NTP server changes. Host name. Digital air. Okay, and a static IP. And you're pretty much done. Okay. And then I always put an external. And next. It'll then identify where that disk is. So it doesn't, if you don't have that disk, it doesn't want to go through all this process. It wants to identify whether or not you have that disk up front or not. It's configuring the network, and then it will take us to the disk. Okay, and it sees the 120. I know it's real small, sorry about that. It's 120, and you can then say, okay, just go ahead. And this takes a little bit of time, so we can blow this one away and go to the next snapshot. Okay, OS installed. I think it was install complete. Oh yeah, OS install. Go to, yes. Let's power this one up. At this point, it's gone through all the configuration and it's going to come up with the administration console. And to get there, we're going to go to this guy. So I think I have 27, 39. This is it here. It's not up yet, but will be soon. So from where we left off and we added that disk and we hit continue, it'll eventually get to this point. It doesn't take too long, but I didn't want to waste the time here. So 39.9443, we're going to go ahead and do that. Give it a minute or two for it to actually get that running. Again, that doesn't take very long either. And we can log in as ZenAdmin, which is that password that we install, or you could do root. But the very first thing it wants you to do is configure the first primary server. If it's test environment, it's your first primary server. If it's going into another zone, of course, I wouldn't recommend it being on VMware Workstation. It would probably be on another virtual or hypervisor. You can generate a CSR from here, okay, and use that. And then you can get, if you're using externals, and you can configure the first primary server. If this server is being added to existing zone, it obviously says, hey, by the way, what server address is that and how do you authenticate into it? Okay, but being that this is the first primary server, we're going to select that one. And this can get bigger. And if you save your password, it's going to throw it in the zone name. I actually created a couple of them where I'm clicking next too fast, and I have a zone name called ZenAdmin. So we actually want to name the zone, and then for the administrator password, what are the passwords to get into ZCC. And then of course you have your embedded, your remote Postgres, Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, depending on how many devices. Test zone, you could just go with Postgres. Everything all contained into the single device, and we'll hit next. Okay, and then should you want to, because we selected Postgres, you can do a remote Postgres or an embedded, and we'll just stick with embedded. And finally, your configuration of the certificates, the internal CA. So since we're doing internal certificates, we're going to have an internal CA on itself. We also have a 2-year limitation for the mobiles. Okay, we're going to also create that as well. And then you can do some, if you're doing external, you can select it here, bring in your certificate, which is what we generated, which you'd send to VeriSign or whoever, right? In this case, we'll do an internal because we want everything close, right? Just simple. So we're going to hit finish, and it's going to go through several minutes of this. You could view the log as you're going through it, but what we're going to do is we're going to now bail on this one too. This one is complete. That'll take a little bit longer because it's installing ZENworks and everything else. And it'll eventually come up to where you can get into your ZCC. So again, it's great for a test environment. You could then practice on seeing how upgrades go. You could throw bundles in here and develop bundles here until they're golden, and then transfer them over either with subscribe and share or exporting them. There's a lot of things you could do just with having a appliance just as your test environment. So we'll see here. It completed. Let's go into ZenAdmin. You notice we don't get that install. It's now at 200, right? So with it at 200, we can then open up ZCC. We would want to do the online updates, see if there's any security patches. We would want to register there. And then if we go to ZCC, the other thing we want to do is do the system updates and register for system updates. And again, on your online updates, you can get this registration key in your portal. It's an activation key for the online updates. All right. All the appliances have their own. There is ZCC. And then you get the regular, since it's brand new, it tells you about a few different things that need to be you need to be aware of, telemetry and some of the Windows stuff and optimization. So we now have a zone up and running. That's the fastest I've ever gotten a zone from A to Z. So we'll go into configuration, and you'll want to make sure that you have under infrastructure, system updates, you want to activate this, okay? And those are the two primary things. One, for the administration console to get your updates, and two, to get your system updates for ZCM products. All right, and we will do it one more time. Snapshot, and we'll go here. And these are actually activated. Again, if you have, I've been pushing the thought of corporate documentation. and making sure that you have corporate documentation, you can then align your test environment up. We've seen some customers where they'll copy the database over so that they have a production and a test. We've seen you guys get very creative in getting some of this, these test environments parallel with your production environment, which is really great. And then we're waiting on this. We'll log in. At which point you have a basic, and from beginning to end, it's less than an hour to get the appliance up. I just shortened it by doing snapshots. And then you could start making sure that the system itself is updated. It's not up yet. 3.9. Let's double check. Yeah, we're good there. Okay, ZenAdmin. So Jetty's up. We can log in. We can see that we're registered here, and we have, it warned us that there's some online updates, some security updates. Okay, so being brand new, you want to make sure you get this done and do an update now. I'm going to hold off on that just so it doesn't reboot on us. And then I think over here, if we refresh, we can come in and see under system updates. We have our PRU, and we have awaiting authorization for the update 1, which is the last one that's out here. Now we're going to go ahead and authorize the update. And we can also go ahead and install the PRU, or download it at least. Just takes a minute. So now we're ready to deploy. Let me go full screen here. And let's see if I can get it bigger. So we're ready to deploy update 1. And let's see if we, waiting authorization, authorize update. And you could set requirements, whether or not people can authorize. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and deploy this PRU. And then we're also going to deploy this one here. To the primary server. Again, there's only one server in the zone, so it's going to baseline right away. We're going to hit next. Remember the README, double check your READMEs and details on the warnings. There's a TID in here that's talking about for some details. Be aware of those and check them out. We're going to go ahead and just use all the defaults because it's a primary server. We'll add servers. I'll just go to server and hit OK. Next. And I know you guys have gone through this, but it's one of those things that you do on updates. Primary servers are a little bit different than the agents, right? Because of you only do them once until there's another major upgrade or a minor upgrade. We're going to hit finish, and then this detail is what I wanted to make sure you were aware of, which is a status. All right, you could click on it too, and it should take us there, but I don't have DNS running for 39, so we'll put it in here. Okay. And that's Zeus. Okay, no updates scheduled because I haven't hit OK yet. Once I hit OK, it should take me back, and we see that I'm pending a schedule here. And if we go back over here, we should see it dropped in here. It's not started yet. But what it's going to do is it's going to start unpackaging and getting ready. Whoops. Back. Oh, I closed it. It probably kicked in right away. Yeah. So it's starting. It's bringing down services on the device. And we should see this start up real soon. The one thing I want to mention with this, because it will take a minute to do the online update for update 1, when this says completed, it doesn't mean that the system update is done. If we go back over to, I think I got 27 over here, 27, yeah, let's log in here. If we were doing system updates on here, we would see pending. If you clicked on pending for a device, as a matter of fact, I can actually simulate that. Let's go ahead and simulate that. I'll go here, and I'll just pick a device. Actually, it won't show the same thing because this is the first time. Servers. Yeah, let's go this guy. Next. And we'll do now. Also, the interesting thing about date specific is it puts it back unless it's before 1 o'clock a.m. If you just leave it date specific and you hit OK, it'll do it now because it's past time. And then finish. If we go here on the very first primary server, it'll say, even though it's completed in the 7444 area, this one here, see it's doing it now, and maybe we'll be able to see it. It'll still say packaging here, which means it's repackaging the agents. Because it's the very first server, the very first server has to package up the latest updates, whether it's an upgrade or an install, it has to package them up for the agents, and that's basically what it's doing. So until you see that this is complete, successful here, it's really not done until it's successful here. Now, one thing we can do is we can go to log in, and if we do a tailf var fat fingering it, var up novel log. That's, I don't know what the CD. Boy. I know it's system update. And then it's 50 CD 50. Now, if we do a tailf system update, date log, grep, what is it, percent? You can then see it. It's at 62%. It's now, you can see percentage there, 62%. And you can actually watch it. So if we're looking over on this guy, who's here, you can see it's 62%, 63%. We can be confident to go over here. Oh, now it's 65%. It's cruising through now. 71%. And you can see it's, so you can actually see as it's working what the percentage is. It basically mirrors the GUI over here. And then you can see when it's completed. And again, when it says completed here, make sure you check ZCC to see if it's successful. It is 80%, and it'll take probably another minute or two. So other than that, if we go over to ZCM. So we can go ahead and hit, we don't want to hit this guy right now because it'll reboot our 39 server. It's in the middle of an update. This one doesn't have any yet. Let's go on over and see. So we're baselined here. It shows baselined for 2020 PRU. It'll say baseline if there's only one server, or once all of them are complete with the update 1, which we'll see in just a minute. Okay, we're at 82, 83. Any other tips anybody has out there for kind of checking how things are going, moving along? We obviously can't get into ZCC right now because the services are down. But if you have any tips, go ahead and shout them out in chat, share with the group. That's how I typically monitor to see really what's happening on my server. We're at 89, 90. Okay. And I know when the appliances came out, I was not Linux literate, if you want to call it that. So I've had a learning curve from then, but some of these small commands are really nice to have to at least put in, and you can kind of get a feel that something's going on instead of waiting. I do like the 777 screen, which really is something that gives us an idea. So that was a great enhancement back in 2017. 96, 99, 100. And this normally takes a little bit longer to get 100. It's wrapping things up, so it takes a minute or so on the 99. That's the only thing I didn't get to as far as a snapshot, but we'll be able to witness logging back in and seeing it doing the packages. Because if you have multiple servers, obviously you want to bring those down when you're updating, and you do the primary servers one at a time. And then the satellites, similar to the remote control that Valerie mentioned, you want to make sure if you're on update 1 on your primaries, be on update 1 on the satellites so they can talk the same language. Okay. The agents can be older, they're backwards compatible, but until you put the latest agent on, those features will not be available to that particular managed device, even though they're available to the zone. Okay. Percentage 100%. So we're pretty much good there. We probably don't need to go back here. So Control C, that command again was just going out to that system update, looking at system update log, and doing a grep on percent in all caps. Now there's some background processes still going on, obviously, but at least you can see that it's moving forward if you didn't have a GUI like this. Okay, what else was there? So we have our update, which means we are configured for system updates here. You can also schedule this, so you can have it go out and check for updates, and then you can have a schedule to download the updates, just so at least it comes into your system update settings here and kind of reminds you if you go here and you see it, oh, it brought one in type thing. Or the PRUs, which should come in pretty regularly. If we do a check, we should get, oh, I'm having a problem with this one, yeah. It won't do updates. I did some firewall changes and modifications. Okay, and that's because it's my 27 box. If we go back over here, We're still at 99. Yeah, so CIS Tech says they're all good tips, but I would add that we generally like to SSH to the appliance and tail the log on another screen, as sometimes a VM screen is hard to resize. Well, obviously, even with mine, thank you, good tip on that, because mine is small enough as is, right? So good point. Yeah, SSH into it. And one of the things you can do for SSH is you can go over to the um, we're on 39.9443. Yep. So you can go into System Services. Services are down, so it's probably going to, oh, maybe I just timed out. Hang on. You want to turn SSH on here. So these services are running. Thanks for that. I appreciate that. So that you have it running, now you can SSH into the box. Okay. The other command that I had found was if you did the RC SSHD. RC SSHD start or stop or restart will do the same thing. So if we did a stop here, we'll find over here that this is probably, let's see if we refresh. Yeah, see, it's stopped now. So command line or yeah, thank you for that. That's a good point. And yeah, and you want to install from the particular device itself too, instead of across the wire in case some glitches. But the SSH is a great tip. You can actually see what's going on. Okay. Take a little bit. One last thing to show you when we bring this back up. Any other tips? I appreciate that. And who do we have from CIS Techs today? What engineer do we have on here? I know you're on all the time. I appreciate that. This is 27. We don't want 27. Last final bits. Okay. As far as system updates, then you'd want to run a ZDC. Download the ZDC and run it for update 1. And of course, if it's your lab, you know, you go to 2020 and you go directly to 2020 update 1. Either way you look at it, just do the ZDC for your end results. If you're doing an upgrade in production, you obviously want to run it before and then after. Jose, oh yes, Jose, thank you for being on today. So you want to run your ZDC to make sure the integrity, the file integrity is there, the database tables, you don't have any mismatches or missing tables or those types of things. You want to correct those as soon as you can. We have seen some ZDCs that aren't clean more often than not, but sometimes it's when you have an FTF. It could be a bunch of different things. And they've corrected the latest update 1 because there was some mismatches apparently. There's a TID out there for that. Almost there, maybe not. So yeah, I can't simulate that without going into it. So Service Desk, if we went back into Service Desk, 82. Oh, did I powered it down? No, I didn't power it down. Let's see if we can log into Service Desk. Since we did an update there, it's not happy with me. We did one here too. Close these out. A lot going on. My browser likes the HTTPS in front of it. There we are. Now we can Did I not reboot? I thought I rebooted. Yeah, we're at 8.2.1. Reboot needed. One thing to do note is, even though it says 8.2.1, if I didn't reboot this box, obviously I didn't because the reboot needed. It still says 8.2.1 because it's set everything up. Now it needs a reboot to enable everything. So we're going to go ahead and reboot on that one. And then the 2.0.1 was another one. Oh, you'd think I'd learn. So 82 is rebooting now. There's 82. Back to 27. There we go. Yeah, this one I rebooted. I didn't reboot the other one. So we're at 8.2.1 now here. Online updates. You can always double check, see if there's any new patches for that, but there wasn't. We just did everything. Okay, we can go home. Again, this one also has the system services if you need to get into it. SSH is running already. So you're good to go there. So this says successful, completed, right? For our upgrade to update 1. If we now then go to ZCC, sorry, meant to hit delete. And log in, you can see we're at 20 update 1. We go to configuration. Check patch subscriptions or other licensing as needed if you're building a test environment so that there's as close to production instance. Yeah, absolutely. If you're licensed for one, licensed for the other, and make sure you're getting patches in. So here we have pending, even though we showed it was successful over there or complete. If we show pending right here, see it's rebuilding the deployment packages. It's almost done. So we got it just in time to see that. As soon as this shows successful, then we know it's complete. Okay, but that's a great mention. Also, if you're having patch in your production and you have patch in your test zone, make sure you have devices, managed devices from production in your test zone so it'll get the same patches, right? So if you have all Windows in production and you put a Mac in there, you're not going to get the patches for the Windows because it has to do a scan on your environment. And so make sure you have the managed devices mirrored too. You don't need as many, just at least one, right? So that you're able to get those patches downloaded. Then you can test your patches, patch policies, everything else. So great tip. I appreciate that. Always good to have that extra thought process and you guys watching over my shoulder. I appreciate that. So we are just about, I bet you we are done. So we're baselined. Everything went away because we're baselined. Baselines means every device in the zone is at update 1. Had we thrown in a dummy device and it didn't update it, we'd still have that ZENworks 2020 update 1 ready to deploy to somebody else, right? So that is our update 1. Update 2 will not be the same. We will not be going to check for updates in update 2. Because of the architecture change, we're going to need to do an ISO install or an appliance side by side, and we'll have some videos on that, and probably a ZENcast or 2 on that as well. So I hope that was helpful to see a few tips as you do some upgrades and updates. Again, under configuration, you have a lot of things as far as configuring, closest server rules or optimization, or like they said, the security and patch, infrastructure security with patch subscriptions. Okay, telemetry is helpful for us. Intune if you're doing mobiles and those types of things. Okay, and then you could always do a subscribe and share between zones, and there's a video out on that under the ZENworks YouTube channel. Or you could do export import. All right. Okay, that was what I had to offer today. I hope you got some good stuff out of that. Here are some of the ZCM resources. Again, you can download this particular PowerPoint. And again, our schedule, the next upcoming ZENcast, we're going to have some Update 2 stuff. So stay tuned, same channel, same time, same channel, as they call it. And we're gonna have that. I don't have anything else for you guys except to say thank you for joining, and we appreciate you being here. We hope that you stay safe, and look for new enhancements on the stream itself, as well as some great detail up and coming. You can email me at any time, paul.pedron@microfocus.com, if you have any suggestions or you have any comments. You can also comment in the stream if you're watching this recording. So feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be happy to assist you. I hope you guys have a great week, and we will talk to you next time. Thank you very much. That's incorrect. That's the wrong ending screen, isn't it? Next ZENcast will be that one. Oh yeah, it'll be Enhancements. All right, Jose, thank you very much. Cheers, Etienne. Valerie, thank you for joining. You guys have a great week. Look forward to talking to you in a couple weeks. Cheers.